The rehearsal hall buzzed with laughter as Colin's voice cut through the chatter, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Noelle, maybe stick to the cheap seats tomorrow. Wouldn't want you near the champagne budget." The room went quiet for just a second before nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. My parents chuckled awkwardly. Marina's bridesmaids smirked behind their hands. I stood frozen near the gift table, clutching the expensive wine I'd brought, feeling heat crawl up my neck. Then the venue manager appeared in the doorway, her eyes widening when she saw me. "Miss Hart? We weren't told the owner would be attending today." The silence that followed was instant and complete. Every single head in that ballroom turned toward me like I'd just pulled a fire alarm. Colin's smug grin melted off his face. His mouth opened, then closed. Marina's mother stopped mid-conversation. My father's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. The manager walked toward me, professional and respectful. "Would you like to approve the final floor plan yourself, or should I continue with Mr. Grant?" My pulse hammered in my ears, but my voice came out steady and calm. "Let's finish the walkthrough." She nodded. "Of course, Miss Hart. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my revenge story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. My name is Noelle Hart, and I'm 34 years old. For most of my life, my family treated me like the disappointing daughter who couldn't get anything right. While Colin got applause for showing up, I got lectures for not being social enough. When he needed money, everyone rallied. When I needed support, I got silence. So I learned to be quiet. I learned to work harder than anyone else in the room. I learned to make my own opportunities because no one was going to hand them to me. What my family didn't know was that over the past 6 years, I'd built something real. Heartstone Holdings was my shell company, registered under my legal name with a business address 3 towns over. I owned 4 properties, including this venue, the Grandview Estate. I bought it 2 years ago during a liquidation sale, paid cash from consulting fees I'd earned helping tech startups clean up their financial disasters. No one in my family knew because I never told them. Why would I? They'd already decided I was the broke one. 2 months earlier, I'd been sitting in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my property manager called. "We've got a booking request for a wedding in October," she said. "Colin Grant and Marina Vescovi." The deposit just cleared. I sat back in my chair, staring at my brother's name on the screen. Of course he'd picked my venue. Of course he had no idea it was mine. The Grandview was one of the best event spaces in the city, and Colin always wanted the best, even when he couldn't afford it. I told my manager to proceed normally. No special treatment. No family discounts. Just business. 2 weeks later, she called again. The payment bounced. I closed my eyes. Of course it did. Colin had always been terrible with money, but he was great at pretending otherwise. "What's our policy?" I asked. She recited it from memory. Suspended services until payment clears, then a reinstatement fee. I took a breath. Follow the policy. No exceptions. Even for family. Especially for family. Growing up, Colin was the golden child. When he got decent grades, Dad threw a party. When I graduated top of my class, I got a card. When Colin's first business failed, everyone said he was brave for trying. When I worked 2 jobs to pay for college, Mom said I was being dramatic. At every family dinner, every holiday, every gathering, the conversation revolved around Colin. His ideas. His dreams. His next big venture. I learned to stay quiet in the corner, to nod and smile, to never ask for help because asking meant hearing no. When I was 26 and sleeping on a studio apartment floor because I couldn't afford furniture yet, Colin asked to borrow $5,000 for his catering startup. I gave it to him. He never paid me back. A year later, he asked for $20,000 more. I gave him that too, against every instinct I had. He ghosted me for 6 months, then showed up at Thanksgiving and told our aunt I'd begged him for gas money, That lie burned worse than losing $25,000. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday, embossed and elegant. Tucked inside was a sticky note in Colin's handwriting. Formal attire, but keep it simple so you don't outshine Marina's family. I stared at that note for a long time. Then I laughed until tears ran down my face. That same afternoon, I checked my email. The venue booking for Colin Grant wedding had just been confirmed. My venue. My property. My rules. I didn't feel angry. I felt calm. For once, I had the power, and Colin had no idea. I emailed my manager. Treat this like any other booking. Standard contract, standard policies, no exceptions. She replied within minutes. Understood. I sat back and waited. People like Colin always revealed themselves eventually. You just had to give them enough rope. 2 weeks before the rehearsal, my mother called. Noelle, honey, I need to talk to you about something sensitive. I put her on speaker and kept folding laundry. What's up, Mom? She hesitated. Colin's under a lot of stress with the wedding. The venue contacted him about a payment issue, and he's worried you might say something to embarrass him. I stopped folding. Why would I embarrass him? You know how you can be sometimes, she said gently. A little too blunt. A little too focused on money. This is his special day. I closed my eyes and counted to 5. I won't embarrass Colin, Mom. Thank you, sweetie. I knew you'd understand. After she hung up, I stood in my quiet apartment, surrounded by the life I'd built brick by brick, and felt the old familiar ache. No matter what I accomplished, I'd always be the problem child in their eyes. But this time I had documentation. This time I had leverage. This time I had the truth on my side. The venue manager, Patricia, called me 3 days before the rehearsal. Ms. Hart, I need to inform you of a situation. I set down my coffee. Go ahead. Mr. Grant left a voicemail yesterday. He was upset about the payment issue and said, and I quote, "The owner's my sister, so I know I'll get freebies. She won't dare charge me." Silence filled the line. Patricia continued carefully. I didn't respond, per your instructions to treat this as standard business. But I thought you should know. I saved the voicemail to my personal files. Not for revenge. Just for records. Thank you for telling me, I said. Continue with standard protocol. Understood. After we hung up, I sat at my desk and thought about all the times Colin had used me. All the times he'd taken my help and turned it into a story about my weakness. All the times he'd made me the punchline. Not anymore. At family dinner the week before the wedding, Colin raised his wine glass. To Marina, for agreeing to marry into this chaos. Everyone laughed. He winked at me across the table. Especially for putting up with my disaster of a sister. More laughter. I tried to speak, but Dad cut in smoothly. Let's not start drama tonight, Noelle. It's Colin's moment. I excused myself to the bathroom, hands shaking under the table. In the mirror, I looked at myself and made a promise. Soon, everyone would know the truth. But I wouldn't be the one to tell them. I'd just let Colin keep talking. People like him always talked themselves into corners eventually. Marina found me in the hallway afterward. Can I ask you something? She looked uncomfortable. Colin said you've been struggling financially. Is that true? I met her eyes. You'll know the truth soon enough. She nodded slowly, uncertainty flickering across her face. Seeds of doubt, planted. The day before the rehearsal, I visited the venue to check final preparations. In the main ballroom, Colin was yelling at one of my junior decorators, a sweet college student named Ruby. Get the drapes right. My sister's pathetic enough without this mess making us look cheap. Ruby's face was bright red. I walked over slowly. Ruby, take a break. I'll handle this. She fled gratefully. Colin turned to me, irritated. What are you even doing here? You owe her an apology. He laughed. For what? Doing my job? Someone has to maintain standards around here. Apologize to her. His expression hardened. Stay out of it, broke girl. This is my wedding, not your business. He had no idea every camera in that ballroom recorded sound. He had no idea Ruby was crying in the break room. He had no idea he'd just crossed a line that even family couldn't uncross. I smiled calmly. We'll see. That evening, I met with my lawyer. The rental contract included a clause I'd written myself after years in financial consulting. Verbal abuse or harassment towards staff could result in immediate termination of services, with all deposits forfeited. I hadn't written it for Colin. I'd written it to protect people like Ruby, who deserved to work without being screamed at by entitled clients. But sometimes justice wrote its own opportunities. My lawyer reviewed the camera footage and Ruby's written statement. This is solid, he said. But he's your brother. I looked at him. Which is exactly why I won't let him get away with it. What do you want to do? I thought about it. Nothing yet. Let him keep digging. My lawyer smiled slightly. You're scarier than most of my corporate clients. I didn't feel scary. I felt tired. Tired of being small. Tired of being the joke. Tired of watching Colin hurt people and get applause for it. My mother called again the morning of the rehearsal. Colin told me you're causing problems with the venue. I put her on speaker while I got dressed. I'm not causing anything, Mom. He says you're overreacting to a small payment delay. Can't you just let it slide? He's your brother. I buttoned my shirt slowly. If he can't afford the venue, he should have picked something in his budget. Noelle. Her voice went sharp. This is his wedding. Don't be selfish. I hung up. For the first time in my life, I just hung up on my mother. The silence that followed felt like freedom. I finished getting ready, looked at myself in the mirror, and drove to the venue. Today, everything would change. Today, Colin would finally face consequences. Today, the truth would stop being optional. I arrived early and found Patricia in her office. Everything ready? She nodded. The floor plan is set, catering confirmed, and security briefed. Security? She handed me a report. Mr. Grant tried to add 60 unauthorized guests yesterday. That puts us over fire code. I told him no, and he said he'd handle it himself. I closed my eyes. Of course he did. What's the plan? I moved the extras to the annex next door, Patricia said. But that space is also yours, so I wanted your approval. The annex was my second property, purchased 6 months ago. I'd planned to renovate it next year, but it was functional enough for overflow seating. Approved, I said. But he pays for both spaces. Patricia smiled. Already added to his invoice. I sat down in her office and waited. Soon, my family would arrive. Soon, Colin would make another scene. Soon, the truth would stop hiding in contracts and start walking around in daylight. The rehearsal started on time. My parents arrived, chatting with Marina's family. Bridesmaids posed for photos. Groomsmen joked by the bar. I stayed near the back, watching everything unfold. Colin spotted me and walked over, his expression tight. We need to talk. I stayed calm. About? Your attitude. You've been weird lately, and I don't need you ruining tomorrow. I looked at him. Really looked at him. The expensive suit he couldn't afford. The watch he'd probably put on a credit card. The confidence built on lies and borrowed money. I'm not ruining anything, I said quietly. I'm just watching. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. If you cause drama, I'll make sure everyone knows what a bitter, jealous mess you are. I smiled. Good luck with that. He stormed off, and I pulled out my phone. Patricia had sent me the updated invoice, 2 spaces, extra tables, extended catering, and the reinstatement fee for his bounced payment. Total due, $48,300. Halfway through the rehearsal, Colin called everyone together for a speech. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," he said, grinning. "Especially my baby sister, who's finally learning how to dress appropriately." Laughter. I didn't react. He continued. "She's had a rough few years, but we're trying to help her get back on her feet." More laughter. Marina looked uncomfortable. My father nodded approvingly. I stayed silent. Let him talk. Let him perform. Let him think he was winning. Patricia appeared at my shoulder. Should I interrupt? I shook my head. Let him finish. Colin wrapped up his speech with a joke about me still living like a college student. Everyone laughed except Marina, who was watching me carefully now. When he finished, I walked to the front. "Colin, can I talk to you privately?" His smile faltered. "Now?" "Now." We stepped into the hallway. I handed him the invoice. "This is your balance due. Cashier's check only, due tomorrow morning before setup begins." He snatched the paper, scanned it, and laughed. "You've got to be kidding me." "I'm not." He crumpled it. "I'm not paying this." I stayed calm. "Then the wedding doesn't happen here." He stepped closer. "You wouldn't dare." I met his eyes. "Try me." Colin stormed back into the ballroom and announced loudly, "We might need to move the wedding. The venue's trying to scam us." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Marina's mother stood up. "What do you mean, scam?" Colin pointed at me. "My sister's been sabotaging everything because she's jealous." My father frowned. "Noelle, is this true?" I stayed perfectly still. "No." Patricia stepped forward, holding a tablet. "Mr. Grant, would you like me to explain the charges to your guests?" Colin's face went red. "This is private." She looked at me. I nodded. Patricia cleared her throat. "Mr. Grant's initial deposit bounced 2 weeks ago. Per our standard contract, services were suspended until payment cleared, plus a reinstatement fee. He also added 60 unauthorized guests, requiring a second venue space. These are standard charges, applied to every client." Marina's father stood. "Colin, is this true?" Colin fumbled. "It's just a misunderstanding. My sister owns the place, she's being difficult." The room went silent. My mother's face went pale. Marina stared at me. "You own this venue?" I met Marina's eyes and nodded. "Yes." The silence stretched. My father looked like someone had punched him. My mother's hand went to her throat. Colin's face cycled through shock, anger, and panic. Marina's voice was quiet. "How long have you owned it?" 2 years. She turned to Colin. "You knew?" He stammered. "I didn't think it mattered." "You didn't think it mattered?" Her voice rose. "You've been calling her broke for months. You borrowed money from her. You made fun of her in front of everyone." Patricia pulled out her phone. "I also have this voicemail from 3 days ago." She played it on speaker. Colin's voice filled the ballroom, confident and cruel. "The owner's my sister, so I know I'll get freebies. She won't dare charge me." Gasps echoed. My mother whispered, "Colin, no." Marina ripped off her engagement ring. "I can't do this." She walked toward the exit. Colin lunged after her, but security stepped between them. He whirled on me. "This is your fault." I stayed quiet. The truth had already spoken. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Marina's family gathered their things. My father tried to calm everyone down. My mother cried. Colin shouted accusations while security escorted him to the parking lot. I stood still in the middle of it all, feeling nothing but exhausted relief. Patricia touched my arm. "What do you want me to do?" I thought about it. Refund Marina's family every cent we can recover. Contact the other vendors and help them get their deposits back too. She nodded. And Mr. Grant's balance? Standard collections process. I walked out through the side exit, avoiding my family. Behind me, I could hear my father's voice rising, my mother sobbing, Colin shouting my name. I got in my car and drove home in silence. My phone buzzed nonstop. Texts from my parents. Voicemails from Colin. Messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. I turned it all off and sat in my quiet apartment. Tomorrow, I'd deal with the fallout. Tonight, I just needed to breathe. The next morning, my mother showed up at my apartment. "We need to talk." I let her in. She looked terrible, like she hadn't slept. "What you did last night was cruel." I stayed calm. "What did I do?" "You humiliated your brother in front of everyone." I poured coffee. I told the truth. "That's not humiliation, that's honesty." She sat down heavily. "He made mistakes, yes, but you didn't have to expose him like that." I handed her the coffee. "Mom, he called me broke for years. He borrowed money he never repaid. He lied to his fiancée, to you, to everyone. And when he got caught, he blamed me." Tears filled her eyes. "He's your brother. And I'm your daughter." My voice stayed steady. "But you've never defended me." "Not once." She looked away. "That's not fair." "It's completely fair." I sat down across from her. "I didn't humiliate Colin. He humiliated himself. I just stopped protecting him from the consequences." She left without finishing her coffee. Over the next week, the fallout spread. Colin's business collapsed after screenshots of his venue tantrum circulated through vendor group chats. Clients canceled contracts. His partners distanced themselves. He lost 3 major accounts in 4 days. He posted on social media, blaming me for sabotaging his life. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The people who mattered already knew the truth. Marina called me. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." I told her it wasn't her fault. "He's very good at lying." She laughed bitterly. "I'm getting my deposits back from the other vendors. Your manager helped me file claims." "I'm glad." We talked for an hour. By the end, she thanked me. "You saved me from a terrible mistake." After we hung up, I realized something. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. Tired, but finally free. 2 weeks later, my father called. "Can we meet?" We met at a coffee shop downtown. He looked older, worn. "I owe you an apology." I stirred my coffee and waited. "I didn't realize how much we'd overlooked you," he said quietly. "Your mother and we got so focused on Colin's struggles that we forgot you were struggling too." I didn't cry. I'd run out of tears years ago. "Dad, I wasn't struggling. I was succeeding. You just never noticed." He flinched. "You're right." We sat in silence for a while. Finally, he asked, "Can we fix this?" I thought about it. Maybe. But not by pretending it didn't happen. He nodded. "Fair enough." We finished our coffee and parted ways. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a start. Some bridges take time to rebuild. Some never fully recover. I was okay with either outcome. A month later, I reopened the Grandview with a new initiative. Respect First Events offered steep discounts to couples who treated staff with dignity. Ruby helped me design the program, and Patricia spread the word through vendor networks. Within 2 weeks, we had 50 applications. Within a month, we were booked solid for the next year. A local magazine ran a story, former analyst turns family feud into empowerment movement. I didn't do interviews. I let the work speak. Colin sent me an email. You've ruined my life. I hope you're happy. I deleted it without responding. Happiness wasn't revenge. Happiness was waking up in a home I'd earned, running businesses I'd built, and knowing I'd never have to shrink myself again. That was enough. 3 months after the wedding that never happened, Heartstone Holdings expanded. I bought a third property, a historic mansion perfect for intimate ceremonies. Ruby became my assistant manager. Patricia took over operations across all 3 venues. We hired staff who'd been mistreated at other companies and built a reputation for fairness. Business exploded. Brides sought us out specifically because of our ethics policies. Vendors recommended us. Media coverage brought national attention. I was offered a book deal, which I declined. This wasn't about fame. It was about building something real, something good, something that couldn't be taken away by people who'd never valued me anyway. My parents visited the new property. My mother cried when she saw my name on the deed. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. I wanted to ask where that pride had been when I needed it. But I didn't. Some questions don't need answers. 6 months later, Marina got engaged to someone new. She booked her wedding at the Grandview. I want to get married somewhere that represents honesty, she said. I gave her the friends and family discount. Not because of Colin, but because she'd shown courage when it mattered. The wedding was beautiful. Her new fiancé was kind and genuine. During the reception, she found me checking details in the hall. Thank you for everything, she said. Not just the venue. For showing me what integrity looks like. I hugged her. You would have figured it out eventually. Maybe, she said. But you sped up the process. After the wedding, I stood in the empty ballroom, looking at the space where Colin had tried to humiliate me. Now it was filled with joy, respect, and love. Sometimes the best revenge wasn't destruction. Sometimes it was just building something better. Colin eventually moved to another state. I heard through relatives that he'd taken a job in sales, started therapy, and stopped blaming everyone else for his problems. I didn't reach out. Maybe someday we'd talk, but I wasn't in a hurry. Healing happened on its own timeline. My relationship with my parents slowly improved. They started asking about my business, my life, my dreams. It felt awkward at first, like learning a new language. But it was progress. My mother visited the venues regularly, helping with small tasks. My father referred clients from his network. They were trying. That was enough for now. I hired more staff, expanded services, and started consulting for other small business owners. Everything I'd learned during those years of being overlooked, I turned into lessons for others. My success wasn't about proving my family wrong. It was about proving myself right. A year after that rehearsal, I stood on the balcony of the Grandview, watching the sunset. The venue was fully booked. My staff was happy. My business was thriving. Patricia joined me. We've got 3 more bookings today. All because of the Respect First program. I smiled. Good. She hesitated. Your brother called. He wants to know if you'd meet him for coffee. I thought about it. Maybe someday. Not yet. She nodded and went back inside. Below me, a new couple toured the ballroom, holding hands and dreaming of their future. The marquee lights glowed in the evening, Heartstone events, where respect is non-negotiable. My phone buzzed. A message from Ruby, just finished training 3 new hires. They're going to be amazing. I typed back, proud of you. Then I put my phone away and watched the light fade over the city I'd built my life in. Colin had tried to make me small. Instead, he'd shown me exactly how strong I could be. That wasn't revenge. That was just the truth. And truth, I'd learned, was the most powerful weapon of all. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does family mean to you? Please share below and subscribe to this channel for more stories like mine.